Having come to accept that I exist in a world run exclusively by corporate executives whose job is to beat on dead horses until shit starts turning to gold, it no longer phases me to find that humanity's collective intelligence is rapidly going the way of the polar ice caps. And so, with the idea trough at an all-time low, modern game publishers are increasingly reaching for the low-hanging fruit of nostalgia as a means of sustenance. But if recycling old ideas is really the golden ticket to the secret paradise of eternal life and chocolate strippers, then surely some suit-wearing idiot would have suggested an IP from the mid-90s, a period in which installing a single arcade cabinet was projected to generate more profit than almost anything else short of possibly distributing heroin via vending machines. I suppose my younger viewers would probably have no idea what I'm babbling on about. After all, any business consultant still alive today claiming there is some profit to be made by packing a dingy room with coin-operated electronic crack dispensers would probably feel right at home being left inside the padded walls of a chocolate factory. However, as someone who grew up earning his entertainment by jamming bottle caps into coin slots, I will shamefully admit that much of my childhood was wasted playing games in what could only be described as a pedophile training center. Specifically one game by the name of Metal Slug, a little side-scroller shooter developed by SNK in the late 90s. Oh, blimey, I'm old. The game was pretty straightforward. You pick one of 4 characters, move towards the right end of the screen, and murder everything that happens to be alive. And despite having an art style which by modern graphic standards would seem as if all the characters were a bunch of papier-mâché polio victims being projected across a fat jogger's tits, the gameplay was at least entertaining enough to distract 6-year-old me from committing any serious crimes. But needless to say, 6-year-old Cheeky and I no longer have anything in common, and so game developers nowadays need to try a whole lot harder to earn my attention. One way to fuck this up and send me running for the hills is to slap on a new makeup resembling that of a crazy whore demanding child support payments. Metal Slug Attack Reloaded, the newest problem child to the Metal Slug family, tries to break away from traditional values and appears to have been influenced by some rather questionable individuals, specifically mobile games. Having taken both the platforming and bullet hell elements behind the abandoned shed, the latest installment hopes to win over its players by dumbing the gameplay down to just sending endless wave of dispensable forces along a linear corridor while mashing the attack button. A sort of tower defense game made for people with no thumbs or any concept of a strategy. And yes, you've heard correctly, modern accessibility has pushed developers to remove all the tactical awareness, fast reflexes, and manual input needed for your entertainment, such that all you need to do to beat a game is to find a roll of gaffer tape to hold down a single key. What's truly frustrating about this new game design is just how obvious the developers have no clue what the fuck they were doing. Having somehow lost the basic knowledge required to plan a simple difficulty curve, the development team instead resorted to amputating off large portions of everybody's stats with the intention of gradually sending it back to the players in exchange for soul-crushing grinding. And you will be grinding, quite a lot in fact, because each mission pays less than renting out cardboard boxes to the homeless, and you're gonna need more money than the Pope to pay for all the equipment and upgrades needed to advance through the game. Not that there was any character customization to write home about, as all the upgrades only serve to marginally raise 1 or 2 stats, and can be universally applied to any unit without impacting their role, behavior, or even appearance. So whether you decide to distribute the latest shipment of military-grade bandanas among your frontline infantry or your panzer tanks makes about as little difference in strategic value as it does in common sense. Now I'm sure by this point many of my regular viewers are wondering why I've yet to unleash the attack dogs on the game's writing, but truth be told, I have yet to figure out what the fuck the plot was even on about, let alone understand why any of the factions are fighting each other in the first place. It certainly doesn't help that every unit is unlocked at random via a loot box system, meaning that half of my battles involve watching the same forces fight from opposite sides, nor was it made any clearer by the fact that the entire cast were made up of generic characters so bland that even the writers couldn't be bothered giving them all names. But worst of all, most of the exposition came with little or no context and rarely offered any character growth or advancement to the overall plot. This is not good storytelling, people. You're supposed to set up a payoff in your writing, not vomit out verbal diarrhea all over your audience and hope they were somehow in on the joke. At the end of the day, I find myself rather bummed out. It's not even because I've gotten used to seeing all my childhood memories being repackaged into recycled goods and sold for crack money, but rather it's because I've just gotten so tired of seeing the lack of creativity and ambition within the games industry as a whole. Like, what is the point of this game? Did SNK release this because there was a market out there for people demanding to see their favorite action figures play happy slaps? Or does this game only exist because some asshole in a suit has to top up the company hooker fund again?
Oh.